What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Nerf Fortnite SR. This blaster's spring-powered, hammer action with a 4-barrel smart AR system. Let's get into it. Included is the blaster, optic, darts, and the instructions. External overview of the blaster starting up at the front. There's no in-strike barrel lug on this one, but there is a 4-barrel smart AR system that can be simply front-loaded. However, there is something of a barrel shroud. The barrels are inset by about an inch, so you really have to fish the darts in there. It takes more dexterity and attention to load this one compared to something like the quad-rod. But you can't see the darts, it looks cooler, and I think that's what they were going for the prop guys. But there are 4 barrels, it only shoots one at a time, starts from the top and moves down. There's a pretty noticeable velocity drop from the top barrel to the bottom. This is pretty common with these smart AR systems. So they don't all shoot the same. You get the most power from the top and the least from the bottom. With that is the barrel system. Above that we have the front iron sight, and moving back we have an in-strike tactical rail right here. And this optic is included with the blaster, and I think it looks pretty cool actually. It's of a new design, but it is a standard in-strike attachment, so if you want to put this on your Strife or a different blaster, you totally can. The sight is hollow, but it has a piece of plastic up in the front with inked in crosshairs, so you can sort of line up your shot a little bit. It's not going to help you aim or anything, but it looks cool, and I think this is less intrusive than a lot of optics they've used. And that's attached to a standard in-strike tactical rail, so if you want to put a bigger scope on here, you totally can. Behind the rail is the priming system. This is a hammer action blaster. To prime, you pull down on it like that. It takes a little bit of effort to prime this blaster. The spring is pretty strong, and the hammer is relatively small. My finger slipped off of it while trying to fire quickly multiple times. It's not too big an issue. You'll adapt to it pretty quick, but it's not quite as easy as the hammer shot. And down to the trigger pull is pretty standard. This blaster does not have slam fire. However, you can fan the blaster by holding down the trigger and pulling back on the hammer and just letting it release without catching. The performance will vary drastically. Most of the shots kind of farted out, but you can technically do it. I really wouldn't advise it, but it is pretty cool to do that. And now down to the grip. This is an oversized grip that's very welcoming to large hands. However, it is fairly narrow, so I don't think it's going to alienate a smaller hand. Keep in mind, if you have a really small, especially a weak hand, it might be difficult to prime this without moving your hand completely. You might end up having to use your other hand to prime, especially if you want to shoot very quickly. But the grip is comfortable and ergonomic. No complaints from me, and that's saying something. That is an external overview of the Nerf Fortnite SR. Let's see it fire. Shooting standard blue Nerf Elite darts. Attempting to fan, which is kind of like slam fire. Now shooting some waffle head darts. Operating this blaster went largely as expected. I did not have any jams and malfunctions. And to compare this to other blasters on the market, I put it up on my chronograph and achieved an average velocity of 62 feet per second shooting Nerf Elite darts, which is under the 70 FPS par that we should expect out of most Nerf blasters on the market right now. And 62 FPS is the average, but it had a pretty wide range, as I mentioned earlier, because of this smart AR system. I got a range between 55 and 72 FPS. That's really just ranging from the top barrel to the bottom barrel. And the last barrel sort of often just sort of farted out the dart, and it really wasn't a usable shot at all. That's the objective information I can provide on this blaster. Now to my personal opinion. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this blaster. I did not experience any jams and malfunctions, and the firing performance is what we should expect from a blaster in this class. I do have to gripe about this barrel shroud because it really interfered with quickly reloading the blaster. There's about an inch of plastic that goes beyond the barrel, so when you're trying to fish darts in there, it's like a wall that you're trying to go around. Compared to the quad-rod, which has exposed barrels, which is easier to load. Because it's a secondary and not a primary, it may not be a big deal to you, but it was worth noting because it kind of annoyed me. Now to the question to buy or not to buy. If you're a Fortnite fan, I'd actually recommend you purchase this blaster. No jams and malfunctions, it's relatively affordable, and it's a fun little plinking toy. So if you want a Nerf blaster to feel more in tune with the video game that you like, this is a good option. But this blaster isn't just for Fortnite fans like a lot of other Fortnite blasters. If you're a competitive Nerfer, this has a genuine place in our hobby. It's a thinner blaster than the strong arm and the hammer shot. It's very similar to the quad-rod, which I really like, but it has a hammer action, so you can fire it one-handed, which is a big deal for certain loadouts. Before purchasing this blaster, I would look look into the Quadrat, I think this is the best competitor to this blaster. The benefit of the Quadrat is its price, and it's a slightly smaller blaster that's going to be easier to fit into a holster, but it requires 2 hands to fire. Firing one-handed with hammer action is pretty cool. If I personally had to run a secondary, I would gravitate towards the Quadrat because it's smaller, but I don't really prioritize my secondary. I rarely carry one. And because of that, it's lighter, it's smaller, it's less flapping around on my hips. This would be a little less annoying. But if you're a pistol guy and you want to be able to shoot one-handed, having hammer action is pretty cool. So overall, I think this blaster actually has merit. There's actually good reasons to buy it, unlike some other Fortnite blasters. But hopefully I've laid out all the information for you to make an educated purchase decision on your own. If you'd like to buy one, I'll put a purchase link in the description box below. That concludes this video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.